Hello everyone, in this video we will discuss what is cloud, and today we have a special guest with us today who is an expert on cloud. So we have with us Jasvinder Saggu. Jasvinder Saggu is a technologist with over 18 years of experience. He has been working with leading investment banks, telecom companies, and healthcare sector as a solution architect and lead developer. Thank you very much, Jasvinder, for coming to our show today.
It's a great pleasure, Ravi. Thanks for having me on your show.
All right, so I will be starting this video by asking you a few questions. And today I basically want to understand what is cloud. I want to ask you briefly high level concepts of cloud. And I'm mostly interested in knowing how can we use cloud and who can use it. So my first question is, what is cloud?
Absolutely, this is a really interesting question, and I think everybody in today has come across what the cloud is. So, the cloud in information technology or in computer science is basically a term used to describe applications or software which are running remotely on the internet and managed by third parties. Okay, so basically, what you're doing is you're simply asking the third parties to give you computing power to run your applications somewhere else rather than your computer.
Okay, thank you very much. And my second question is that, and this is really important, I'm sure this question will be useful for many people. Who can use cloud and how to use it, especially if you are a casual user, you just use internet, or maybe you just use gadgets, or if you are a technologist, or if you are a student, or maybe if you are a software developer, or maybe you're trying to become a software developer, then this is something that I really want to know personally. Who can use cloud and how to use it?
Absolutely. Okay, so I think there are quite a few leading questions to this one question. So let's start with who can use cloud. If you own a smartphone or you use internet on your computer, you probably are already using the cloud. Okay, now if you're using Gmail, for example, what is happening is you're using your computer to access Gmail emails, but you really don't care, or really do not know that where the email or the content is stored. So in effect, you are actually already using cloud. Another example is Google Docs, okay, the spreadsheet, etc., which you use. Okay, YouTube, for example, you're listening to music, you're watching videos. Nothing is actually stored in your phone or your personal computer. On demand, you are requesting that you would like to access document, you would like to read your email, or you would like to watch a video. So basically, on a daily basis, you are actually using cloud.
So this is about a casual user who is probably using, let us say, mobile phone or gadgets. But what if someone like me who is a technologist as well, and maybe someone who is a software developer, for them, how can they start using cloud? Or maybe if they want to do some development, or maybe they want to build their career around cloud.
Yeah.
So what do you think? How can they start using the cloud?
Absolutely. If you just go few years back, as a typical software developer, you have to have some sort of server, in your company premises or somewhere in data center. And whenever you want to deploy or develop an application, you have to deploy on that. So there was limit, because things were moving quite fast, and then your company could not cope with the quick demand from the customers. And then what you end up doing is you just end up buying more and more hardware, and sometimes you don't even know the demand, and you might end up spending a lot of money. So since the cloud has come, the game has changed. Okay, you can now focus more on your creativity rather than spending money on building the architecture or data center. You now focus on your application or your core business offerings, and then you just use cloud to deploy your application. So your question was now, as a software developer, how can you use cloud? So there are quite a few companies who are offering various applications, various softwares to deploy your component which you have just developed. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So as a software developer, now you can just focus on your business offering or the use cases which you are going to solve, and then just build the application and deploy it, rather than worrying about the infrastructure which is going to support to run that particular application.
My next question is, can you briefly explain and tell us about high level concepts of cloud computing?
Absolutely. So typically, there are three high-level terms which are used in cloud computing. One is IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. Second comes as PaaS, which is like a platform as a service, and then third is SaaS, or sometimes people call it SaaS, which is software as a service. So examples of these things could be like, if we just talk about SaaS, as I said earlier, Gmail is a typical example of SaaS. So what you're using is you're using software as a service, which is offered by Google, and you can say even Hotmail or Yahoo Mail or whatever email system you're using. There are various vendors which are offering these software as a service to you. You don't have to deploy or run these email servers at your premises. Coming to the second one, which is a PaaS, which is a platform as a service. Now, as a software developer, if you are developing a application and which is maybe using Java runtime environment or .NET or Python, you don't have to build an operating system or infrastructure to run Java component. What you can simply say, you go to the cloud service provider, you say, look, I would like to run my .NET or Java component, and this is the requirement for my application. Say for example, this is the you need 10 GB of RAM, or you need some core processors and some hard disk. So what you do is you just define those requirements in as a script, and you deploy that application, and the cloud provider will take care of everything. So this is PaaS. Third category in cloud computing comes infrastructure as a service. So in infrastructure as a service, you would like to have some sort of control over the operating system, but you do not want to again own the hardware to run that operating system. Say for example, your application needed some sort of Windows environment. So you can go to the cloud provider and you can say, look, I need some sort of infrastructure. I need 20 or 30 Windows operating system machines, or I need Linux machines, because I would like to try something out for my company. So this falls under IaaS, infrastructure as a service.
Okay, thank you very much. And my last question would be, who are the major players in the cloud computing in the market these days? Because you talked about various high level concepts of cloud computing. You talked about software as a service, platform as a service, and also, as you mentioned, infrastructure as a service. So I'm sure if we, as a developer, as a technologist, if we have to, let us say, use SaaS or PaaS or maybe infrastructure as a service, I will probably approach some company or some players who can provide me these services.
Yeah.
So, can you please also help us and tell us a bit more about these companies
Yeah.
that can provide cloud computing?
Yeah. So there are quite a few players in this field right now, because almost everything is kind of deployed in cloud. But the top three players which comes right in my mind, one is the AWS, which you might have heard, which is Amazon company, Amazon Web Services. And number two is Google. So Google also provides, it's called Google Cloud. And the third, which is again owned by the another major company called Microsoft, and they offer Microsoft Azure Cloud. Okay. And all these three companies have a similar sort of offerings, you can run infrastructure as a service, you can run your PaaS. You can simply say PaaS, as I said, platform as a service, that I would like to run my Java application. So you can go to these three companies. So for example, AWS offers something called Beanstalk, which is a PaaS offering. Okay. And Google provides Google Engine, and so does Azure. And you simply define a script, and they will just create this runtime environment for you, and your application will be up and running in no time.
This brings us to the end of this video, and we will be making more videos on cloud computing. And thank you very much, Jasvinder, for your time today. And I really appreciate you giving us this information about cloud computing. And we hope to see you in more future videos. Thank you very much.
It is pleasure talking to you, Ravi. And obviously, this is a vast area. 5 or 10 minutes video cannot, justify. So I think we'll talk more about it, and we'll pick up individual topics and go in detail, and we'll probably see some examples as well. So thanks for having me on the show.
Okay, thank you very much. So I hope, guys, you enjoyed and you learned something new in this video. Thank you very much.